I set out to answer the age-old question that I think is on all of our minds. Is it possible to make a miso paste using silkworms? I mean, why not? Silkworms are a cheap source of protein, so it would make sense to be able to make miso out of them. And to understand why high-protein silkworms would make sense in miso, we gotta understand why miso works. At a very basic level, miso is 4 ingredients: soybeans, a grain, salt, and koji mold. The koji mold produces enzymes that break down not only the protein in the soybeans into amino acids that give that deep umami taste, but also the starches in the grains into sugars. And I only just realized this now while writing this script for this video that lighter misos, which are usually sweeter, actually have a higher grain ratio than darker misos, which have a higher soybean ratio. Which makes sense because lighter misos are generally sweeter and grains contain starch, which koji turns into sugars. While darker misos are more rich and umami, and that's because soybeans have a lot of protein, which koji breaks down into amino acids, which give that umami flavor. But enough on that tangent. Let's get back to the silkworms. So silkworms, when dried, are about 50% protein by weight, which is comparable or even a little higher than soybean protein content by dry weight, which is around 40-ish to 50%. So I think you can kind of guess where I'm going with this. What if I were to take a portion of the soybeans and replaced it with silkworm pupae to make a silkworm miso paste? In theory, with the higher protein content, it should create a more savory umami soybean paste than if I were to just use soybeans by themselves. And just how am I gonna do that? Well, luckily for me, silkworms are a pretty common food in South Korea. I'm even able to just buy them in almost all the supermarkets in the canned food sections. It's usually boiled and eaten as a street food, and anyone who has spent time in Korea is more than likely familiar with the smell, and if they were brave enough, even the taste. This video is sponsored by NatureCell to tell you about their new 시골집 식혜. 식혜 has been one of my favorite drinks growing up, and NatureCell have done something that I've never seen before. They've made 식혜 using oats instead of the classic rice. You know what? I'm here for it. I also wanted to try and make some for myself to compare side by side, so I cooked up some oats, then mixed them with some malted barley and held it at 60 degrees so that the starches in the oats can turn into sugar. I then separated the oats and then added just a little bit back in along with a piece of dried ginger and just a little bit of sugar. I boiled it up and then let it cool before bottling, and I tried mine and it was pretty good. But I think NatureCell does it just a bit better than me, and it's pretty much ready to drink on the go. Now, while the usual rice pieces become spongy and unpleasant, the oats stay firm and chewy, which is far more enjoyable in my opinion. This 시골집 oat 식혜 is great for a little pick-me-up or refreshment, so make sure to click the link in the description to try some oat 식혜 for yourself. And while you're at it, check out the fermented red ginseng K-drink for a more traditional Korean medicinal cure for low energy or even hangovers. This is made from real ginseng that is steamed and dried in the sun 9 times, making it more bioavailable for your body. This process also reduces the bitterness of the ginseng, and I've been drinking this instead of my coffee every so often, and it tastes great. There's even pieces of ginseng inside, so you really get the benefits of eating actual ginseng too. So if you want to try out fermented red ginseng K or 시골집 oat 식혜 for yourself, click the link in the description and order a box today. And thank you to NatureCell for sponsoring this video. So I picked up 3 cans of silkworm pupae from the supermarket and ran them through a strainer to remove the liquid. Now, I guess I could have used the liquid as well in this miso paste, but let's not get too crazy with this just yet. So I added the silkworms to a pressure cooker along with the same weight in dry soybeans that I soaked in hot water to hopefully get them to swell up faster. I added water until it reached the top of the silkworms and soybeans, and then pressure cooked this for about 30 to 40 minutes or until the soybeans were soft. Since the silkworms are basically ready to eat out of the can, all that matters is that the soybeans are cooked enough. So I poured out the silkworms and soybeans through a sieve to remove any excess water and then added them to a large mixing bowl on a scale so that I could measure the weight of the silkworms and the soybeans. With the total weight of the soybeans and silkworms, I can calculate how much salt and koji I need to add to make this miso paste. I decided to use 10% salt and 20% koji for this miso paste, mostly because I want to keep this fairly unsalty and I want it to have a lot of enzyme converting power for all those proteins in the silkworms and soybeans. And of course, to calculate 10% and 20%, I'll take the total weight of the soybeans and silkworms in grams and then multiply it by 0.1 for 10% and 0.2 for 20%. And that will give you the amounts you need in grams. With my salt and koji measured, I set my salt aside for now and added just a little bit of water to my rice koji and then blended it up just to break up the rice grains, since I don't really want to have a miso paste with bits of rice in it. And then I set that aside while I added my salt to my soybeans and silkworms and started mashing everything together with a wooden pestle. But eventually I had to change over to my stick blender because mashing wasn't quite breaking up the silkworms enough. I didn't really want to have visible pieces of silkworm in my final paste, so I wanted to try grind them up as much as possible. I transferred the paste to a smaller glass bowl and took the temperature, which was now under 50 degrees Celsius, so it should be safe to add my rice koji paste. I combined most of it by hand, but I also went back to my stick blender to try break up more of the silkworm pieces. Once I was satisfied with the consistency, I transferred the miso paste into a glass container. With miso paste, the best way to do this to minimize air pockets in the paste is to take small portions of the paste, compress them into balls, and then push them into the jar. This really does help to minimize air pockets in the paste. And once I've transferred all my paste, I'm wiping down the sides of the jar and then sprinkling some fresh salt over top and then covering with some baking paper as a layer of protection from air contact. I then took a plastic bag, pushed it into the jar over the top of the baking paper, and then poured in some salt to just weigh everything down. I don't want this to be airtight, so I'm gonna cover the top with some thick kitchen paper held down with an elastic band, and then set this aside to ferment. Well, that's what I did for the first couple of weeks, and then decided I didn't want to wait the full amount of time it takes for miso to develop properly. So I moved the miso into my heating chamber, which is set to about 50 to 60 degrees Celsius and turn on and off with the sunrise and the sunset. I set it up like this with a smart power socket in the hopes it would sort of simulate this miso paste being outside in the hot sun and then cooler nights. And within a few months, this silkworm miso paste transformed into this dark paste. Now, I may have overdone it a bit, but this is definitely fermented and turns super umami. So I decided to empty the jar out and then transfer it to a mixing bowl just so I could get a closer look at it. And it's actually pretty hard to see any remnants of silkworms in this paste anymore. Although if you do look quite closely, you can spot a few little pieces of silkworm carapace. But the ultimate test for this miso paste has to be the taste test. It is time to taste the silkworm soybean miso paste. What I've done is I put it into this plastic container and covered it with a bit of baking paper just to reduce air contact. And I've actually been keeping this in the fridge for now because I don't really want this to like age anymore. Kind of wanted to like to lock it in, keep it like this, and just stop it from potentially going bad or moldy or anything like that. I have tasted this already for the short or the reel that I made for this video, which you can find on my channel as well. So I kind of know what this tastes like, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna taste it again and just go through my thoughts again because I kind of probably just did like a traumatic mental block from what it tasted like. It just looks like dark miso, very dark miso. And you can't really see much semblance of like silkworms in there. Unless you look real close, and then maybe you can catch like a leg or a piece of the shell or the carapace of the silkworm. It smells really dark and rich, like soy sauce almost, and really like, I want to say almost like caramelly as well. Definitely smells a lot better than when it went in. So let's give it a try, just a tiny bit, and let's talk about how this tastes. I will say the texture is quite nice. Oh, there's like little shell-like bits and like little like leg-like bits. Just gonna take the tiniest amount. I think that's gotten better since the last time I tasted it. I tried it for the reel that I shot, and I basically took it straight out of the jar after it'd been in the fermenter for like maybe like 4 months. And like, it didn't taste amazing, and it still like had that taste of the silkworms. But now that I feel like being in here and then being in the fridge for a few weeks has really kind of like, I don't know, allowed it to like settle down a bit, I guess. Because right now this is way more smoother, way more pleasant than what it was before. It's like really like deep and rich and almost kind of like sweet as well. There's not much remnant of that sort of like silkworm flavor in there, although it kind of, if you think about it, like I'm thinking about it right now, it comes through just ever so slightly, but like not in like the unpleasant way that it usually does, much more in just like the deep flavor of it. Like savoriness of the silkworms comes through, but without much of that unpleasantness. I think what would really help this though is the texture, because if you take a fairly big bite of this, you're gonna feel like the shell of the silkworm in there, and that's not very pleasant. It kind of reminds you that you're eating silkworms. But if you were to give this to someone without telling them it's silkworms, like I think they legitimately would not be able to tell even if they know what the taste of silkworms is. I think that silkworm flavor is completely gone, and now because of that protein content in those silkworms, it's kind of turned into like this super umami. Like all of that protein has just been converted into amino acids, which is umami. And you can tell it's very, very umami, very deep, very savory, quite pleasant actually. So I'm glad I waited just a little bit after transferring it to this container before actually trying it for this video too. But interesting experiment. Not sure if I'd do it again. If I do it again, I would definitely try to find a way to grind up those silkworms or even just use them in a powder form. Or I actually looked it up as well. You can buy the silkworms dried, which probably would have helped a lot because then I could have just ground them up and then mix them in as like a powder. But this is not too bad actually. I said in my reel I probably wouldn't do it again, but actually I've changed my mind since then after trying it now. Maybe it's just like with a fresh mind or something, or it's because it's been in the fridge, but I think that little bit of time in the fridge has done something to me or to this that has made this different in my mind. I'd be interested to actually try this again without putting it in the fermentation chamber and just letting it sort of ferment naturally at room temperature. I think maybe we can get some more complex flavors and not just so much deep richness out of this, because that's what happens when you do it in such high temperatures like in the fermentation chamber. It basically just turbocharges the process. So there's not much time for anything else to develop. It's just blasting through all that protein, just turning it into amino acids, which just ends up being just pure umami. So next time, definitely try doing a lower, slower ferment. Unfortunately, I just don't really have the patience for that. So I'll have to find the patience. But if you enjoyed me making this silkworm miso paste and you want to see more and you have not subscribed already, I would highly suggest subscribing to my channel because we do a lot of this kind of stuff around here and I plan to do a bit more of this stuff around here. If you have any more ideas of stuff you would like to see turned into miso or even garam or soy sauce, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Go ahead and click the like button if you enjoyed this video too. And I will see you in the next one.